Yeah.
No, guys, I want to say thanks first before we get started. Say thank you to you guys for joining the call today, and your coverage of Union 2 is awesome and really appreciated from everyone in the club and everyone in our staff. And it's a big piece for trying to professionalize this as much as we can, and as we try to prepare our players for what they have coming for them in the professional game. The coverage is really important for that they have to learn how to speak to you, how to deal with that. So we appreciate that, and yeah, thank you for joining us today and for your coverage through the season.
Coach, this is an obvious question. You have come full circle. You were captain of the first Philadelphia Union professional development side in Bethlehem Steel. Now you're the head coach. Do you have any comment on that?
No, I'm just excited for it, and that was part of my journey as a player. And since I've been coaching with the club, I've had the opportunity now to work at every level of the club. So in my first year, I started with the U8s and had the opportunity to work in every age group in the academy up to the first team, and now working in the second team for the first time in the coaching capacity. I'm just excited to get going and leading this group.
As a guy who trod that path before, started with the U8s or thereabouts and ended up doing pretty well for himself. How much is that a model for you?
No, look, Jim was great to me. Even before he was even a coach of the Union, he was still a player, and I was in college. He involved me in pickup games in the off season, things like that. So always someone that I could look up to, and always someone that supported me. So I'll always appreciate that.
Hey Ryan, just in terms of some of the new players coming out, I know you were just talking about Stas and some of the younger players like William, just kind of continuing that trajectory. What is sort of your outlook for the season in terms of just the different opportunities that will be there for some of these younger players to push for minutes in this team?
Yeah, look, the opportunity will certainly be there for them, and I think it's an important message from myself and from our staff that those opportunities are earned. And that's earned in training every day, and for the younger guys that are playing sometimes with the academy and their performances in the game with U18s, and with William and Malik, it's U16 games even. But the opportunity will be there for them to push through for minutes at Union 2. But it's opportunities that are earned by their play, by their attitude, by their focus, and by their development through the year.
And in terms of just the opportunities for U.S. youth national team camps, how do you sort of see that just helping these individual players, and then when they kind of come back into your side to have the experience with some of the national teams that they're getting called into?
Yeah, look, those are always amazing opportunities, and I think it's a great representation of our club and our academy when our young players get the opportunity to represent our country, and they come back with another level of confidence that they can compete at that level, that they're being recognized to be able to compete at that level. And when they come back in after going for camps or for games, I hope that they bring their experience and the confidence that comes with that, and they bring that to take their game to another level when they join Union 2 again.
In the past, there has been considerable flow between the deep reserves of the first team and Union 2 on game day. What do you expect with regard to that practice in the future, since you are new, Coach Carnell is new, and there might be some changes to be anticipated? Is that to be expected or not?
Well, I'll start in the beginning with Jonathan. You probably remember what the old MLS Reserve League looked like 10 to 15 years ago, and I had played in that. So I think we're at a far more professional place with the second team that we were then. And Bradley's been nothing but great to me and great to the Union 2 staff, and very helpful in everything that he's been planning with players that have been involved, even through preseason, with players that have been involved with Union 2. And ultimately, our job with the second team is to support the first team. So if he sees that as guys who aren't getting first team minutes, that need minutes in the second team, that's part of our job is to play them. If it's guys coming back from injury and they need to get fitness with the second team, that's part of our project as well as pushing the guys that are Union 2 players to continue their development and academy players to kind of take the next step in their career. So for us, that's the dynamic of the second team, but it's always to support the first team and what they need from us so that we can support them.
Thank you.
So to follow on that point a little bit, this organization routinely signs guys to first-team contracts to incentivize them to sign here instead of going to Europe or wherever it may be, even though they know that those guys might not play for the first team in their first given year.
Yeah.
Have you been in the room with some of that stuff? Because I would think that they will get some minutes for you.
Yeah, and that's the part that we've tried to do a really good job with so far, is just meeting weekly and kind of having an outlook of what the game for the first team might look like, the roster, who's not going to be involved, who's involved in the second team roster, how that can change depending on minutes in the first team game the night before. So it's very dynamic and will change probably week to week. But as long as we have our communication between myself, John Shear, Bradley, Ernst, that we're all on the same page and ultimately give the best opportunities for the players. So it comes down for communication between the two groups and just making sure that we're on the same page so that the players can benefit from it.
I think I heard you mention Malik Jakubovic just a second ago. I want to ask you also about Jameer Johnson.
Yeah.
And who's another guy in the amateur ranks who has already had a little bit of Union 2 experience. Where do you put him at the moment, and generally how much do you want to have amateur guys getting minutes for you?
Yeah, like I said, it comes down to them earning the opportunity, and Jameer has done a great job through preseason to show that he can play at this level. And he had some opportunities last year, but really took a big step through preseason. Not just him, but if you think of the other guys in the 08 age group, with him, Kellen LeBlanc, Jordan Griffin, all three will be pushing for minutes with Union 2 this year. With the 09 age group, it's William Ferreira and Malik that are training with us consistently and hopefully can take that step through the year as well. So with all of those players, with all the young guys that we think can be a part of this year, it's about continuing their development, helping them in moments when we think they need to stay patient or they believe they deserve an opportunity and it might not come depending on the roster week to week. But all of those guys are ones that we really believe in, and we think that they can play a role for us this year with Union 2.
May I follow up with a question? You mentioned Malik. Could you pronounce his last name correctly? Because if I imprint it wrong, we're sunk.
I'll leave that for you, Nico.
I have a voice requirement. We'll get that. We can do more than ribbons.
That'll be asked later.
Obviously, being the first captain of this team, coming in as someone who had some previous experience, how important is it to have guys like Stas, like Mike Sheridan, who sort of have a little bit more life experience, a little bit more experience playing in college, to sort of help in that leadership role on the field and in the locker room with the younger players?
Yeah, and not just a leadership role, but on the field as well. They're men, and what we're trying to prepare all of our young players for is they're going to be playing against men. And we had the opportunity with 2 games in preseason against USL clubs, against Rhode Island and Tampa, where it was really cool actually to see the way that they had to adapt to the game, where we have very talented players, probably talent-wise and technically on a really good level. But when you play in a men's soccer game, the physicality and the intensity is something that you just can't account for until you're in that environment. So it's important for us from a training perspective to have some of these guys involved, but from the game perspective as well, that we're preparing them to compete in men's soccer. And there's a certain level of physicality that they have to be up to that challenge if they want to be successful and be able to compete. So to go back with the 2 of them, it's great to have them involved, and they have a little bit more of an understanding with that, going through 4 years of college and just at a different point in their life, that hopefully some of our younger players can recognize and adapt to a little bit as well.
If I could just add real quick, Fred, obviously someone you played with,
yeah.
Having him on your staff, how important is he from a perspective of working with those players and on an individual basis, and just having all the experience that Fred has had as a player as well?
Yeah, well, Fred, I mean, you guys know him as a person. There's no one that's better for an environment. If you want to make a positive environment, there's no one better to have around than him. And with his 20 years of pro playing experience and now almost 10 years of coaching experience, he's just someone that can really relate to players, give them just pointers on things that he experienced as a pro and things that he's experienced as a coach. And he's just a person in your environment that makes every day better. And I'll say that for the whole staff, for Henry as well. He's an excellent coach. He's really detailed and focused. And for all of us, we're here just to help the players and try to help them take the next step in their career.
All right, last one in the room, John.
You're talking about the psychology of them growing into men, and one of the features of, I would probably say this summer and next summer in particular, for this group of players, is that a bunch of people potentially are going to be hanging out on these fields who don't work for this organization but happen to work for other teams.
Yeah.
Because they're coming into town, and I'm sure they're going to want to see who's around here.
Yeah.
How do you have those conversations with those young players who might get a couple of stars in their eyes, knowing who's coming to town?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, that's, for all of us, that's motivation. I mean, it's for the city of soccer in the city of Philadelphia. It's motivation of what exactly this game can look like at the highest level. The guys in our team, they have the dream that they can play at that level. So to see, like you said, when you see firsthand just what the quality, the intensity, the professionalism that these level clubs and players operate at every day, it's something that we can all learn from.
And we can switch over to Zoom. Jillian?
Thanks, Nico. Hi, Ryan. With heading into the first match this weekend, what's been the message to the club, and how has training shifted at all this week from preseason?
Yeah, well, the message is, and it's been from the first day that we started, is it doesn't matter if you're 15, if you're 25, if it's a soccer tennis match, if it's a training game, or if it's a MLS Cup final. It's about trying to win the game when you're on the field. And having that mentality, creating that winning culture and that winning environment is something that we believe in helps the players to develop, because ultimately where they want to get to, that's what they have to be prepared for when they step on the field. And just, it's been a nice change to have 2 months of training where you're not really preparing for a match, to finally have one coming up at the end of the week. I know I'm excited for it. I can see our players, they have a little extra balance this week as they know it's time to compete. So we've been working hard, training very hard, but it's nice that we finally have a game that we can play on the weekend and kind of measure ourselves against other opponents in our league.
Kyle?
And with the signing of Oscar Benitez, what does he bring to the club that you're most excited about?
Well, if you see him play, if you've seen him in any training clips, anything, I mean, he's an incredible athlete. So whether it's we use him on the back line as a center back or we use him as a defensive midfielder, he can cover a ton of ground, a real destroyer, and excellent in the air. So it just adds a little different piece to something we didn't really have, having him in, because he can really, from a physicality standpoint, he's on another level.
Kyle?
Hi, Ryan. When you look at Richie Williams, New England 2 side, what do you see in the scouting that stands out to you in film?
Well, just out of the shape that they play out of, and without giving away too much, it's a team that we want to go and try to attack high. We want to try to press high and play in the style that we believe in. And we think it's a team that we match up well against, the style that they want to play and the way that we want to build. We want to be very aggressive in trying to win the ball high and create chances coming from that.
And then somebody I didn't ask you when we talked earlier this preseason, but Gavin Wetzel, how was he this preseason? He came on late for the second team last year. Obviously, had a big role in the playoffs. How's Gavin been?
Gavin's been great, and he's one that, I've coached Gavin since he was 11 years old, so I've kind of followed his path as a player, and to see the steps that he took last season, in the end being a starter with the second team and performing great through the playoff run that they had, and he's done great so far this preseason, and hopefully this is a year where he can take another step forward and build on the confidence that he gained through last year.
final question to go to Jose Nunez.
Hi Ryan, congratulations on the new role. Would love to hear from you how much it helps to have someone like Ross Kane come back and maybe be the continuity between, you know, the old coaching staff and now the new coaching staff, and what he has helped you with throughout preseason and getting settled.
Yeah, first of all, thanks. And yeah, Ross has been great so far, and not just how professional he carries himself every day and the way that he works, but there are certain challenges that come with being a second team, as you can imagine, with the roster changing week to week, the training groups kind of changing week to week, and you can, for me at least, I can kind of picture how that can be frustrating at times, but until you really go through it, you can't appreciate how frustrating it might be. And Ross, having that experience, he's been good to just bounce ideas off of, can keep an eye for things that I might miss just without the experience of going through it week to week. So having him a part of the staff, having already been through this with Union 2 is great for myself, for Fred, for Henry. It's been really great to have him be able to give us that perspective of already being involved in the second team.
And on the goalkeeping front, Marcelo Avalos, somebody who joined the academy last year, and I believe even as young as he is, has spent some time with you at Union 2 over the preseason. What do you see in him and sort of the next steps as he obviously continues to develop and is involved nationally with Mexico or the U.S.?
Yeah, he was, first of all, a very talented player, one that we think, you know, hopefully can take a big step this year like a lot of the young players. He was with us through preseason and trained well. And the important part for him is continue to get the experience in games as well. So whether that's, he's still a U16 eligible player, whether it's U16, U18, Union 2 games, for the goalkeeping, it's very important that you can get the game experience to work in your decision making, to working off your line, defending crosses. The shot stopping from all our goalkeepers is excellent, but just getting this game experience and really improving your decision making as a goalkeeper, I think is one for all of our young goalkeepers that we can hope to develop this year.
Thank you. Good luck this weekend.
Thanks.
All right, thanks Ryan. Thanks everyone.